Most people believe a cardinal trusts them the moment it shows up at the feeder. That moment means almost nothing. What actually builds trust takes far longer, and most people miss every single sign of it happening, often watching for the wrong thing entirely. Today we're walking through the real timeline of how a cardinal learns to trust a person, stage by stage, from the first time it notices you to the moment it stops treating you like a threat at all. Some of these stages happen faster than you'd expect. Others take months, and one stage might never fully happen at all unless you do one specific thing right. This isn't guesswork either. It's based on real patterns researchers and longtime feeder watchers have documented again and again. Stay with me because the final stage is the one almost nobody talks about, and it changes the way you'll look at every cardinal in your yard from now on. Stage 1 happens on day 1, and it happens faster than almost any other backyard bird. The moment you put out a feeder, a cardinal is often one of the very first birds to notice it, sometimes within 24 to 48 hours. This isn't because cardinals are friendly. It's because they are naturally curious and have sharp eyes built to scan for anything new in their territory, the same instinct that helps them spot a hawk circling overhead before most other birds even react. But noticing your feeder and trusting you are two completely different things. A cardinal can clock a new object in your yard in a day and still take a full month before it ever lets its guard down around you. That gap between noticing and trusting is where most people get confused and where the real story begins. Stage 2 is the watching phase, and if you've ever felt like a cardinal was studying you, you were right. Cardinals will not walk straight into an open feeder the way some birds do. They perch in nearby shrubs and trees and simply watch, often choosing a spot with thick cover so they can disappear instantly if something feels wrong. They are checking the area for danger, checking the feeder for stability, and quietly checking you. This stage can last anywhere from several days to 2 full weeks, and during it, the cardinal isn't ignoring you. It's building a file on you. Every time you walk outside, refill the feeder, or stand still nearby, it's collecting information that will decide what happens next. Even small things matter here. How fast you move, whether you make sudden noise, whether you show up at the same times each day. Stage 3 is where things start to shift, usually around the 3 to 4 week mark. This is when a cardinal moves from cautious observer to semi-regular visitor. It will start landing on the feeder itself instead of just watching from a distance, usually choosing the early morning or late evening hours when it feels the most cover and the least exposure. But here's the part most people get wrong. At this stage, the cardinal isn't trusting you specifically yet. It's trusting the location. It has decided your yard is safe enough, your feeder is stable enough, and the food, especially black oil sunflower seeds or safflower, is worth the risk. You are still just a background detail in its decision, not yet the reason it feels safe. Stage 4 is the real turning point, and it's the one you can actually test yourself. This is the moment a cardinal stops flying off the second you step outside. Instead of bolting at the sight of you, it pauses, watches, and stays, sometimes even continuing to eat while you stand just a few feet away. Researchers studying cardinal behavior suggest this shift often lines up with a simple pattern. The bird stops fleeing once it has seen you behave the same calm, predictable way enough times in a row. There's no exact number of days that applies to every cardinal, but the pattern is consistent. Repetition is what convinces a cardinal you're not a threat, not how loud you are or how much food you offer. Some cardinals reach this point in 3 weeks. Others take 2 months, and that difference usually comes down to how steady you've been, not how much effort you've put in. Stage 5 is where it gets genuinely fascinating, because this is when a cardinal starts recognizing you specifically, not just your yard. Cardinals have an unusually large hippocampus for their size, the part of the brain tied to memory and spatial awareness, packed into a brain that weighs less than a single gram. That same brain structure is part of why scientists now believe cardinals can recognize individual human faces, not just shapes or movement. This isn't proven with the same level of detail we have for crows, but the evidence is strong enough that most ornithologists no longer dismiss it. If a cardinal in your yard reacts differently to you than it does to a stranger walking the same path, slipping back to the feeder for you but vanishing the second someone unfamiliar appears, that's not random. That's recognition, and it's one of the clearest signs the bird has placed you in a separate category from everyone else who passes through. Stage 6 is the one almost nobody mentions, and it's the reason cardinal trust feels different from trust with other backyard birds. Cardinals don't migrate. They claim a territory, often between 2 and 10 acres, and they stay in it year-round, through every season and every kind of weather. That means the trust a cardinal builds with you isn't seasonal and temporary like it might be with a bird passing through during migration. It's tied to a home base the bird intends to keep for years. Cardinals are also mostly monogamous, often staying with the same mate for multiple seasons, sometimes for life. When a cardinal decides your yard is part of its permanent territory, you're not a passing relationship. You've become part of something the bird treats as long-term, the same way it treats its mate, its nesting site, and the patch of land it's willing to defend. And that brings us to the final stage, the one that changes how all of this feels. Once a cardinal has gone through every stage, noticing you, watching you, trusting your yard, stopping its flight response, and finally recognizing your face, it isn't just tolerating you anymore. It has folded you into its understanding of home. For a bird that builds its entire life around one small, defended piece of land, choosing to feel safe around a human inside that land is not a small thing. It's one of the rarest forms of trust an animal can offer, because cardinals don't give it freely, and they don't give it fast, and they don't give it to just anyone who happens to fill a feeder a few times. If a cardinal in your yard no longer flinches when you walk outside, you didn't get lucky. You earned something that most people never will, weeks or months of patience that a bird quietly noticed every single time, even on the days you didn't think it was watching at all. So if you've been waiting for cardinals to feel as comfortable around you as they do at your neighbor's house, don't rush it, and don't take it personally if it's taking longer than you hoped. Every cardinal moves through this timeline at its own pace, shaped by how nervous it is by nature, how safe your yard actually feels, and how much disturbance it's dealt with before you ever showed up. Every stage we just walked through has to happen in order, and skipping ahead isn't possible no matter how much seed you put out or how badly you want it to happen faster. What you can control is consistency, the same calm presence, the same reliable feeder, day after day, because that's the only thing a cardinal is actually keeping track of. I want to hear from you. How long did it take before a cardinal in your yard stopped flying off when you stepped outside? Was it weeks, was it months, or are you still in the watching stage right now, waiting for that moment to happen? Tell me in the comments, because every story helps the next person who's wondering if their cardinal will ever come around, and you might be surprised how many people are going through the exact same wait. If this helped you understand what's actually happening in your backyard, share it with someone else who's been patiently waiting too.